Hey everybody, welcome back to Partner Live. It's Sunday night. You know what time it is. It's time to like and subscribe. You jabronis. If you like this whole live thing, this podcast, anything that I do, you can support it by like and subscribing and sharing it with your friends and all that good stuff. You know what the YouTubers say. You know the drill. Do the thing. Do all the things. But before we get started, this show has a sponsor. What? I know you're thinking to yourself like, who would pay this guy to advertise his own stuff? Well, lo and behold, it is me. If you go to pardonwell.com, I like that setup. Pardonwell.com, it's my website. It's all my stuff. It's all kinds of cool stuff. And I know you thought this guy, he's just a loser on a screen talking about things he knows nothing about. Well, lo and behold, you were wrong. Uh, well, you're half wrong. I also do all kinds of other stuff. Go to pardonwell.com. You can check out, click on comic art. Let's go random. Click on comic art. All my art from my Etsy is up here, showcase like a gallery. And if you see something you like, like, oh, something looks pretty cool. I'm a big fan of what is this? Game of Thrones. I like that long claw sword from Game of Thrones. It'll take you straight to the Etsy. There you can buy prints, you can buy choose the sizes, all that good stuff. All of that good stuff. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's Sunday night. Thanks for my sponsorship. Thank you, David, for sponsoring David's podcast. Anyway, I'm just having fun, guys. So it's Sunday night. We goof around. We have jokes. We play clips, and we talk about how much the media is lying to you and how much they're clowns, because that's what we do here. And I've got a topic to talk about, so we'll get right into it. So it seems to me that the economy. Oh, and by the way, chat is opened up. So if you got something to say, if you're like, "Oh, this guy's totally wrong," and let me give him a piece of my mind, you can do so in the chat. And if it is something worth reading, I'll do that on the podcast. Thing will pop up and be like, blah 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 blah. You're wrong. Blah blah blah. Here's how. Blah blah blah. If it's long, I'm not going to read it. If it's short and awesome, I might. Anyway, man, what a week. We have not had any crazy thing happen this week, which is kind of refreshing. There for a while, it was just back to back, nonstop, guns ablazing. Sometimes literally, with assassination attempts, and I'm very thankful we haven't had anything crazy. It's actually been fairly dull week. No big, pushes. No one's, no VP picks coming out. No really big political news, but the one thing that did seem to pop up is the economy. And I think the economy is, actually, I think Kamala put her policies or did something with her website. She's finally coming out and talking about what she plans on doing when she gets into office, because she's not in office. Whatever. We're supposed to suspend our disbelief for a minute and be like, oh, you know what? I am excited about her getting into office. She could enact all the things she's talking about. But either way, we'll talk about that towards the end. But she's coming out and she's talking about all the things she's planning on doing. And one of the big things that's in the news is the economy. And I'm not sure why the economy is in the news all of a sudden, other than the fact that it's hard out there. It's hard out there for a lot of people. So I guess you can't really escape it. Well, Trump came out with his press conference and he was like, well, I'm going to talk about the economy. Since Kamala sent out the memo where everything's about joy, all of their her rallies is about joy. It's just a good time. It's a great party. She's really into partying. She's really into dancing, having famous music artists dance for her crowds. She just so happens to show up and be like, all these people are here for me. They're not there for her. But whatever, we're supposed to believe that the entire United States is super pumped, because that's what the media is telling us. The media, MSNBC, Morning Joe, all these people there, they are losing it for Kamala. They think she's the greatest thing since sliced Indian bread. And so I think since we all see through the facade, I think some people are actually falling for it. But the one thing you can't fall for, I think, at least, I mean, there's so much propaganda out there. There's tons of people being like, you know what? I don't know much about this Kamala. It doesn't seem like she did a very good job, but all of a sudden I'm starting to like her. There are people out there who will fall for this. But the one thing that they can't seem to get over is the economic situation that we're all going through right now. Some of us more than others. And I think Kamala's got to come out in front, and she's gonna be like, "Hey, I know you forget that I'm in office right now, and I'm gonna play on that, and I'm gonna tell you all about my economic plans." Well, Trump has been doing press conferences too, and his press conferences, he's been honing in like a laser on the economy because the economy sucks, and it is probably his best ace up the sleeve. Matter of fact, if he for the next few months or whatever, few weeks till the election, if he just nonstop talked about the economy, he'd probably do pretty well. And I did notice there was a poll that came out, I think today, where before when Kamala came out, everyone's like, "Oh my God," the media was all pumped for her, and she skyrocketed in the polls. I mean, honestly, if I think a lot of Democrats were like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe we're running Joe Biden." And as soon as Joe Biden, you know, had his arm twisted behind his back, I was like, "I guess I'm not going to run this time." Um, all the Democrats got super stoked. And to be honest, if I was a Democrat, I would have been stoked too because that was not looking good, especially after that debate. So Trump comes out and he does a press conference, and lo and behold, what do you know? Or our friend over at Morning Joey Scarborough's, he came out and talked about it. So we're gonna watch that clip. You know how I do. We watch it. I don't let it go for very long before I stop and interrupt him. And I think, let's just be honest. I mean, I control it. This is my little control board. And just I feel like if I just let him talk the whole time, nah, just gives him too much power. So I like to just cut him off as if we were in a conversation. Just hold on, Joey. Let me give you my 2 cents. So that's what I do. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Maybe that's why you come back. I just like the power move of cutting people off when they're talking. Um, anyway, let's get to this clip. Let me pull it up. Let's see what Trump. So I think this one's going to start off with Trump at his. It's going to be a little clip of Trump. Morning Joe has a clip of Trump talking about some things. We're going to stop and we're going to talk about that, and then Morning Joe pipes in with this whole entire panel, and they get their 2 cents, and then I'm going to hop in on that panel and give my 2 cents. So here we go.
They did a nice job. Gotten to see that's good. I don't like the tags very much. Look at that, up 46% eggs. Wow, up 65%. Wow, school lunch is up 65%. How can a family afford that? But look at this over here. What a nice job. I think I'm going to take some of them back to my cottage and have a lot of fun, like the Cheerios.
All right, so I don't think I've watched the whole full Morning Joe clip. I keep hiding behind the screen. I haven't watched the full Morning Joe clip, but if they don't talk about Trump making that joke and be like, "I cannot believe he just said that. What a terrible person. He's just going to take things home." Someone probably bought that. He's just going to take them for free. Trump only thinks about himself. And this is the same thing I talk about all the time when the left can't meme because they have no sense of humor. Everyone me, including you watching, were probably like, "Yeah, that's pretty funny." He's like, I like that. I like Cheerios. I haven't seen them. I'm going to take those home. So I'm excited to see what old Joey Scarborough has to say about that. I'm sure he was, "Oh my God, take notes. Put this down. Put this down on the teleprompter. We're going to talk about the Cheerio thing." I think he mentions Cheerios. I just don't know if old Morning Joe doesn't hop in on there. He just missed it because there's, a good Democrat will never let a joke go to waste by mistaking it for an actual true statement. Let's continue.
I'm going to take them back with. I'm going to take them back with me. Bacon is through the roof. They're all through the roof. The milk.
Made for tiny hands.
Okay, hold on. Oh, wow, this thing is.
Good country. Said we're.
All right, wow, that's not stopping at the right time. All right, so Mika jumped right in and snuck that little joke in, but I don't made for tiny hands. I kind of want to know what that joke was in reference to. Maybe it was something before they were talking about tiny hands. I love that. I think that's one of the Democrats' best jokes is the tiny hands thing because it makes no sense. It's not as funny. It's more funny that they keep bringing it up as if they believe it makes sense. And I think it's in reference that one time Trump sipped the water with two hands, kind of like a baby bottle, and that was pretty cringe. But hey, I give it to him. But I don't understand what she was referencing, the tiny hands thing. Anyway, I might not be able to just stop and interrupt these people because my clips are lagging behind. So we're just gonna watch this, and I'll do my best to not botch this. Again, oh, by the way, caveat: I'm still trying to figure out this new programming system thing. You guys know I'm a Luddite. I don't understand how to work the computers. And probably from your point of view, I'm working off dial-up. If you even know what dial-up is, it's not true. I'm not working off dial-up, but like a close second. Anyway, let's continue and see if this thing works.
The American dream is dead. And again, there's just such a disconnect with where I think almost all Americans are. I think most Americans are really proud of this country and know that we're the greatest country in the world. We have fed more and freed more people than any other country ever. Our economy is stronger than ever. Our military is stronger relative to the rest of the world than ever. I keep talking about.
All right, gonna pause it. And we're gonna talk about what the context of what he's talking about. But I love that. I love, and you'll hopefully I have another clip where I watch Kamala do the same thing. She's like, we have the greatest economy in the world relative to everybody else, but it's the greatest one ever relative to everybody else. We have the most awesomest school buses and Venn diagrams relative to everybody else in the world. They continue to have to do this because they know that we get caught in line. We have the greatest economy ever, and everyone's like, "Dude, what? No." And so they have to throw that little tidbit in there for you. Compared to everybody else, we have a great economy. But we have a great economy, and it's the greatest one ever compared to everybody else. Anyway, not much left of this clip. We're gonna finish it out. Let's see.
Of America, because you have one party that keeps tearing down America.
All right. Well, it cut off.
Nice job.
Hold on. This
Wow.
thing is.
I haven't gotten to see. That's good. I don't like. I don't like the.
Right, let's get rid of that. That thing is. That thing is just going haywire. Hopefully, my stream's not going nuts. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to fix this midstream. So we're just gonna roll with the punches, guys. That's how we do. So anyway, the context of this thing, and I think I see the play going on. So the context of the whole Morning Joe clip, like, look at him in his press conference, always calling out all the prices of everything. His constant thing, Trump, this is what Joe says about Trump. This constant thing is about how America sucks. And it's doing awful. And I don't think, this is Joe. Apparently, Joe doesn't think most Americans think the economy sucks. Now, if you're smart and your IQ is above 80, be like, yeah, well, that's not what he's talking about. It seems like he likes America. He doesn't like where America is at this point. You'd think Morning Joe would know that. Of course, Morning Joe, but Morning Joe's not honest. We know that because we're honest about Morning Joe. So we know that they're taking this concept of Trump being like, America's awful. It's a third world country. It always has been, and it'll always will be unless you put me in office, which halfway is true. But his whole point is he's running a campaign, and to be honest, these are all aces up his sleeve. It's not as if Donald Trump came out and he's got to come up with something because the economy's doing great, right? Everybody's buying their second home. People are just, instead of buying cars for commute, they're just like trading in their cars for Teslas because everyone's got overflows of cash. There are no wars anywhere. Everyone's living the life. And Trump's got to be like, well, I got to get reelected. What do? I just make fun of the way they look. He doesn't have to do that because America legit is struggling hard in comparison to the rest of the world. Not much. The whole world is struggling hard, but America kind of is a top dog, and we all know that. And America's not doing so well, so it's fairly obvious what Trump's talking about. But to be honest about what Trump's talking about would they probably wouldn't have a job at MSNBC. This is why they won't hire me at MSNBC because I just call it like it is. But yeah, that's the context of that clip. And I always like to bring up Morning Joe and reference every time it brings up Trump because it's not like we can't watch the rally on our own. Like you can go on X right now, or you can go on Google and be like, hey, show me this rally. And if you needed a further clip, they played too long of a clip where Trump is like, look at this. And he's charismatic because he talks about hadn't seen Cheerios in forever. He wants to take them home. And they play too long. They gotta stop doing that. They gotta go back to their old tactics where they would play like a 30-second, or no, not like a 3-second clip of Trump being like, well, I said go into the Capitol, and then they just cut it off. They're like, oh my God, he did insurrection again. Because that always works best for Democrats when they just cut him off instantly. Because if you let Trump talk for 30 seconds or more, it turns out to be somewhat a reasonable guy. And I still think, to be honest, guys, I still think this is their Achilles heel because they're like, God, how do we make Trump so unreasonable? And they can't seem to figure it out. And this is what I love about you guys. This is what I love about most Americans, especially Americans that are like, this Trump guy, even if you're like, I don't like Trump, But I do understand. I understand why people will vote for him, even if you're that. This is why I like you. This is why I like all these people that are just honest about it. Because Trump is Trump, man. Even if he was to get in, I'm not even sure unless the drill baby drill does, offset the prices. I don't even know how he'd fix the economy without just straight up ending the Fed. I don't think he's going to do that. But I do think even just Trump getting in the economy, people are going to be like, "Oh, we've got an easy 4 years," and a lot of people can smell that. Like even I was gonna so Don Lemon, I'm not gonna play the clip. Don Lemon's been doing a man on the ground thing here lately. I guess the interviews with Elon and all of his interviews aren't going very well, so he's got to become a real journalist. And so old Donnie Lemon went to Atlantic City, and I should have played the clip. I should have brought it up. And he just starts asking random people, and I'm surprised he put it on there because we know CNN Don Lemon, where he just is a shill, a Democrat shill. And he just asks a bunch of people, and they're like, "Hey, who are you voting?" This is New Jersey. This is Atlantic City, and so I'm not familiar with Atlantic City. I know it's close to me since I'm in New York, and I know it's got to be at least somewhat of a mixed bag. And the majority of the people he talked to were going for Trump, and you could tell he was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have to switch sides." And you can kind of see he's starting to do that. Just him posting that clip of him talking to people like, "Who are you voting for?" And they're like, "Trump, baby, Trump all the way." And he's all like, "Oh God, oh, am I the baddie?" Hopefully he's starting to wake up and knows where his paycheck, who's going to be bread and his butter here coming up soon. But he's probably playing the fence because that's he's unsure who's going to make it in. But regardless, this is why I like people because no matter what propaganda comes your way, you can still look at it and be like, no, the gas prices are up, food's up, everything sucks. And Trump's right about that. And it's not as if it's always been this way. It wasn't this bad when Trump was in office. No, I mean COVID uh, did a lot more about that. But man, I don't think people are. I'm hoping people are not falling for the propaganda coming off Morning Joe. And so that was what I was going to say about that. Of course, media is going to lie to you. And at this point, you expect it. And I think that might throw me off a little bit because there is a clip, and we're going to play up here in a little bit. That was a little bit of a sidewinder. And that's going to be later on. We're going to talk about how it seems like with the Don Lemon things, the media is starting to take a shift, which I'm actually surprised. But also remember, this week is the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. And I heard the conspiracy rolling around that people are really this whole Kamala hype thing that's artificial. It's being propped up by nothing, other than the media and all your cool influencers like Sean Astin and all the white dudes for Kamala, which are your top at your top game. Um, they're still banking on Taylor Swift coming out in London. Man, that would be something, wouldn't it? She's not even in America, and she's like, "I'm voting for Kamala." I'm gonna put my let's side rant. I'm gonna put my money on Tay Tay's gonna keep this one hush hush. Because at this point in time, there is no amount of money that the deep state or the Democratic convention or anybody in America can throw at Tay Tay that she doesn't already have in her pocket. So Tay Tay's got that I do what I want money, and so she doesn't have to be like a TikTok show. So she probably might just keep it quiet, and I would love to see that. I like that. I like when people have that FU money. They can do what they want when they want to. Seems to be a little bit more honest about who they are. Not like this morning, Joe. You can tell he's still living paycheck to paycheck like the rest of us, which I'm still confused on why he's lying about the economy. Um, Again, I go back to I think old Joey Scarborough over at MSNBC. I think all of his stuff is scripted, and the writer and the interns are just writing it up for him. And I swear you have to know because it's like 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, East Coast in New York. Joey Scarborough, he drags his feet going into the office. He's tighten up his tie. He's already had like his eighth cup of coffee, few Xanax, maybe some booze in his coffee, just to deal with what he's got to do. Because the guy's probably hurting. He's shilling harder than anybody on that network. And he goes in, he's like, "Oh God, please, please, Lord, let us be somewhat unbiased." And they're like, "Oh, here's your script today." And he's like, "Son of a gun. All right. Do I really have to talk about how I had to walk here because I couldn't afford gas? Do I have to talk about how gas prices aren't that bad?" They're like, "No, no, Mr. Scarborough. You do what we tell you, because you don't have that Tay money." And he goes, "You know what? You're absolutely right. Let me lie to the American people one more time and see if I can sleep easy at night. Anyway, I pray for old Joe Scarborough. Maybe he'll pull a Don Lemon. If Joe Scarborough gets, I mean, he's supposed to be a Republican. I don't know how that's possible, but whatever. Republican people identify. It's the Democrats, man. They identify whatever they want to. And so, if they want to be a furry or an elephant or a man or a woman, Joey Scarborough just identifies as a Republican and somehow gets away with it because they all assume, whatever you identify as, if you deny that identification, then bigot. And so he doesn't want to be, no one's going to be like, Joe, I don't think you're a Republican, man, because then they'll be like bigot, whatever else they're going to say. Anyway, I had to think of like, what's a political slur that you could use, but there isn't. I don't think there is one other than like rhino. Anyway, dumb rant. Let's continue on. Let's go before we get crazy into the next clip because Kamala's got some things to say about the economy as well. So we're gonna watch that. We got some comments coming in. We got James says Walt's white dude taco recipe was UGG news ground beef, black pepper, and cheese. Yep. So it was such a slow news week. And they're still trying to make Tim Waltz a thing. They're still trying to normalize him. And I'm telling you, if you ever seen Crazy, you know what? You look in the eyes and you're like, oh, there's some dark skeletons in whatever closet he's got that he's not hiding in most of the time. He's got some skeletons in there with him. But yeah, you can tell. And the fact that he's like, I got this amazing taco recipe, black peppered cheese. James is absolutely right. I don't know. Milk toast is such a weird term because it just sounds gross. It's like Charlie Day's milk steak. You're like, oh, milk toast. I understand the concept, but he's the epitome of boomer. He is a boomer incarnate. It's like all the boomers got together and made a statue of what would the ultimate boomer look like, and that's Tim Walz. The fact that he's white doesn't help because he didn't even add like cayenne pepper or paprika, anything like that to your taco seasoning. Quick side note, if you're making tacos and you want to add a little bit extra other than your taco seasoning, which I'm not even sure if you mentioned, Tony Chachere's my go-to. Not a sponsor, but could be. Maybe one day. We got another comment coming in here off of Twitch. Not a real Minecraft alt. Said, hello, here for the politics. Oh boy, are you in for it. It's political. It's a political talk. Don't know how informed it is. Again, I'm just a jabroni. Welcome to the club of jabronis where we just talk about things we probably shouldn't be talking about, but we do it anyway because as of right now, it is a free country. Ain't UK yet, so I don't have any bobbies knocking on my door, so I can say what I want and show clips that I want. Here's the next clip. So Kamala's coming out. She's got to talk about the economy. And the thing that she's got this great plan, guys. I don't know if you know what this is. It has to do in with the title of our segment. Kamala's like, man, these prices are pretty high. She's going to talk about it. And I pulled this clip up of her talking about it, and right below it, conveniently has the definition of what she's talking about. So we're going to watch the clip. You can read what the reference of it, and then we'll talk about what Kamala's got in store for the next 4 years, maybe 8 if we're not careful. Let's see. Hopefully this clip plays.
Families need relief high cost of living so that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. And yes, it is true that by many indicators, our economy is the strongest in the world. But while inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high. You
Really?
know it and I know it.
Does she know that?
And when we win this election, here's what we're going to do about it. On day one, I will take on price gouging and bring down costs. We will ban more of those hidden fees and surprise late charges that banks and other companies use to pad their profits.
Again, before we go any further, just remember, she's in office right now. So every time she's like, on day one, what about day one 4 years ago when you were, vice president you are? And to be honest, let's straight up be honest. Is Joe even running the country? And shouldn't she be running country? So she's basically running against herself, is what she's talking about here. She's up there like, hey guys, I know it, you know it. regardless that we have a great economy in comparison to the world, what we talked about, you always got to throw that caveat in there. It ain't doing so good. And I'm not sure why it's not doing good, but I think I know. I think it's all these price gouges that have been around for the past 4 years that no one's dealt with. I'm not sure who's in charge of the country. It's not her. It's not Joe. Maybe she can talk to someone, get somebody on the phone in the White House because she's not in the. Is she not in the White House? She. They don't let her in. So, like what? What are we doing here? Anyway, she's going to take control of the economy and she's going to demand that these people control the prices. Let's finish this clip and then we're gonna take a look at the what command economy. She's commanding it. Harris economy goes commando. That's what we're calling this. Let's go.
Corporate landlords and cap unfair rent increases. And we will take on Big Pharma to cap prescription drug costs for all Americans. Our plan will lower costs and save many middle-class families thousands of dollars a year.
Awesome. There it is. She's running against herself. So basically, at the bottom was talking about that was a command economy. It's just Marxist theory of how economics works, where you centralize everything. The government decides what's made and how much it's priced. It's basically what she's talking about. Not basically what's made, but she's like, as the government, we're going to centralize price controls. We're going to make sure they come down. They're not allowed to have a free market because a free market, here guys, I don't know if you know this, a free market is a dangerous thing because you have competition, things like that. And so the best way to lower prices is to not encourage more competition by cutting red tape and allowing regulations to drop. And then, I know this may sound news to you. A big lefty thing is, tax cuts for billionaires. Bernie's been talking about. Well, Bernie was talking about tax cuts for the millionaires and the billionaires. The millionaires and the billionaires. Bernie was going on and on about it. And then he sold a bunch of books and became a millionaire. He's like, well, the billionaires are really the problem. And to be honest, the dollar is worth so little now. It's not that things are more expensive, guys. It's the fact that dollar is so worthless. That's what the real issue is. But no one wants to talk about that because that would have to do with the Fed. And I don't know what presidential candidate can run on ending the Fed outside Chase Oliver, but no one believes that guy's credibility of anything he says because he's such a pristine politician. Honestly, I think that's his platform, but no one can hear him when he's wearing the mask because COVID's around or something else broke out. I don't know. You guys pay attention to the news. Apparently something else is going around. Maybe that's why Chase Oliver wears a mask. Anyway, Chase Oliver would end well, at least he says it'd end the Fed. But anyway, no one's going to run on ending the Fed because your dollar, these people aren't raising the prices on anything. Your dollar is just devaluing, which in retrospect on a surface value, looks like the prices are going up. But the way you bring prices down is you up supply, and that upping the supply adds to competition, and competition can fight back and forth, and that's where you get competitive prices. That's why Burger King and McDonald's constantly compete for your attention with whatever products they have, whatever chemical products they have. They're constantly like, I got the five. I think Sonic came out with a $2 menu. By the way, drove by Sonic. I'm lying. I drove to Sonic. And notice they have a $2 menu, and that was a bit reminiscent. And so that was pretty amazing that someone can get away with a $2 menu. Anyway, just side note, head to Sonic, get your flurry, get your slush. Maybe they'll bring it to you on roller skates. No, I'm joking. They don't do that anymore, and that's an OSHA hazard. If they got rid of that regulation, the OSHA regulation on roller skates, and maybe our economy would uplift. I still go back to OSHA being the downside, the complete fall of American society is OSHA. Anyway, another dumb rant. You can tell I've fumbled this episode into whatever I want it to be. Anyway, command economy, she's going to control the prices. So whereas in Trump's coming in, his idea of how to fix prices is tariffs. Now I have to bring this up. I didn't pull the tweet. I forgot to get the tweet together. So Trump thinks tariffs on China, tariffs on foreign nations, rising basically tariff is a tax on foreign nations for them to ship goods in. So you want to ship some iPads in from China? It was $40 per iPad. Now it's going to be $50 for iPad. They're going to tax that. They're going to bring that money from China, from charging them, and China's going to pay that tax, and they're going to put it into the American economy. Oh, lo and behold, tariffs, I don't know if you know this, are a tax on you, because if China has to pay an extra tax, that means the products themselves obviously going to be more expensive. So your iPad that was shipped from China, if the tariff goes up, your iPad price goes up as well. Now, I know what your tax dollar might be able to get a cut, and so maybe that helps. So if there's more taxes flowing in from China, they don't have to actually bury you in the ground with your income tax. That might help you, not the prices of things, but you'll have more money in your pocket because your taxes will be lower. That would be the overall theme. I know every once in a while I goof around and make jokes, but I'm not a complete idiot sometimes. Sometimes I understand things. So the command economy is an awful idea. It's been tried a few times before. Venezuela did it. We should all check in on Venezuela. How are they doing? Have they made it to the cannibal stage yet? Maybe not. Haiti jumped the gun. Maybe they missed a few steps and went straight for eating each other. But you know what was a great example of a free market? You got old Javier Milei over in Argentina. Someone should check in on them, because apparently the last time I checked, they're doing great. And so looking forward to a free market would be an awesome platform for someone to run on. I don't think we're getting that choice, boys. I don't think we're getting that choice. Either way, Kamala wants to price gouge. So if you thought things were bad, they're only going to get worse. But if you are super low IQ, this all sounds great. Your all your prices for everything will never be able to be raised, which will obviously lower supply, and so that bread will be sort of cheap, except for when there's not that much bread anymore. And the only place to get bread will be in a line, a bread line. Anyway, we have somebody, and this is what I was talking about, the media shifting. Hold on, we got a comment. I got to read this. James coming back in with a hot zinger, talking about Waltz again. His platform is Command Kingflation. Wolf, wolf. I'm assuming he's talking about Waltz. Waltz. He does seem like he would be a furry. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Just watch some clips. I'm gonna do a whole nother Walls episode, and we're just gonna watch clips. I don't know if you saw him coming out when they were announcing Walls as the VP pick, and he's all like, "Woo!" Like he did that Winona Ryder thing. Dude, the guy is nuts. I love it. I love it. We're getting into going deep into the clown world, and we're having fun with it. To be honest, at this point, if anybody came out that seemed serious, like had the Barack Obama tone, like, not red Americans, blue Americans, we're just Americans, that would seem odd. If we had like a politician that wasn't drunk and stumbling on stage, or a politician that just made Cheerios jokes, it would seem weird, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it seem weird to time travel back in the day when politicians actually had debates and they were cordial? The only downside of that is that was just a facade. So the fun thing about this being a clown world is it was like this all along. You just didn't see it, and now it's up in your face, and you can make podcasts and go live and talk about it all the time, every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. Pardon will live, like and subscribe. Anyway, I got another clip. So here's the funny thing about Don Lemon coming out and being like, I guess I should interview Trump people, talk to Elon, maybe start towing this party line thing a little bit. We got the Washington Post coming in with another hot singer. So check out this clip. I was a bit surprised. We're going to watch this. My clips are lagging. At least they are to me. We'll see how this works. But check this out. We're going to talk about this.
So, Senator, let me just read the Washington Post this morning, an op-ed that writes, quote, "It's hard to exaggerate how bad this policy is. It is, in all but name, a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every..."
Yeah, so this WAPO is talking about Harris's price gouging policy, so she's going to come in hot. The Washington Post came out and was like, hey, this Harris thing this is actually bad. I'm surprised. Are you surprised? I'm almost concerned. Did someone accidentally slip in to the Washington Post and was like, ooh, send? And the editor was like, it says something about Kamala. She needs more airtime. She hasn't done any interviews. We need to just write every essay about Kamala because she's not going to sit down and talk to anybody. So we have to do the work for her. And then this one slipped in. It's like, this is a terrible idea. Or this was written by a landlord. That would be also pretty hilarious. But either way, probably both. anyway, we're going to continue. I just thought that was funny. It seems like the media is kind of towing that line, and I think they're going to well, they can't now. I think the DNC is about to set the car on the tracks. So we're going to see how this week's going to go. We'll probably talk about it, but I think we're definitely going to see whatever the media is going to do. I think they're going to have to go in all in. I don't think Don Lemon's going to be able to do the man on the street thing anymore once the DNC is over with. But let's continue, because this guy's a genius, and we want to hear what he has to say.
Across every industry, not only food, supply and demand would no longer determine prices or profit levels. Far off Washington bureaucrats would. The FTC would be able to tell, say, a Kroger in Ohio the acceptable price it can charge for milk. Curious how you respond to that from the Washington Post, and who exactly decides when a price at the grocery store in Ohio is excessive?
Well, it's really not at the grocery store level. This is at the corporate level, Willie. They've been making record profits. We've never seen the kind of profits in corporate America the last couple of years. And when they're doing that, they're bragging about increasing prices. So my point is that we should give the federal government the power to investigate.
Oh boy, actually, I got to pull this in. James came in with something. Is this true? So James got, or the Washington Post and Whole Foods owner Jeff Bezos dropped a dime. Dude, does he own both? Uh-oh. That's fun. Wow, see, this is what I've been waiting for. At least Elon woke up and was like, this free speech thing is going to be an issue, and I should address it because he cares about humanity. Jeff Bezos like, this is going to hurt my pocket. I should address this one real quick. James, that was good. I did not know that. I had no idea. That makes a lot more sense. Definitely makes a lot more sense. Anyway, this guy, man, he just said the one thing I hate to hear the most. He's like, you know what we need? We need to give the federal government more power to investigate these things. And you're like, well, hold on. Anytime, guys, I don't know. Every time I hear, we should give the federal government more power, I don't like. But he is a Democrat, so I guess it makes sense. I don't know where you feel about that, but even investigation on these prices. Here's the thing: if the federal government came out and did an investigation on these price controls, they would come back and be like, yeah, we didn't see anything. You want to know why they wouldn't see anything? Because the price controls have a ton to do with the government in general. So a lot of these prices, I mean, corporate greed is sure. Let's just put our thinking caps aside for a minute. People are greedy. People are naturally greedy. But the problem with corporate greed, unless they're all in cahoots, which fair enough, if Walmart, Target, Aldi's, which they're not, because I could pretty much tell you they're not. But if you shop at multiple, here's the thing: if you have one store you go to, this might make sense. This idiot on screen, not me, the other guy, he might make sense. But if you shop at multiple stores like I do to try to find the best price, yes, we are in that kind of economy right now. You can kind of tell some things. So I go to certain places to get certain items because I know at this place it's going to be more expensive than it will be over here. Now, the reason behind that is competition. So you have grocery stores competing against each other. So when they talk about a grocery store, who sets the price of the grocery stores? Well, the grocery store has to make a profit, so there's price involved in that. And they also have to purchase the products from the corporate companies. So it's not the grocery store, it's not the Kroger in your neighborhood that sets the prices. It is Kroger corporate who sets the prices, who are in charge of buying. I don't know why I'm explaining. You guys are all intelligent enough to understand economics 101, but apparently this guy is not intelligent enough, or he's trying to sell you a bag of garbage. He's just straight up trying to sell you some BS to get himself reelected. Ding, ding, ding. I'm going to go with the latter. But yeah, so the corporate greed, the biggest thing to mess up corporate greed is multiple corporations competing for your dollar. Basic common sense. Unless you don't have to compete with other people. And that's another question. What happens when corporations don't have to compete? Let's just take, I don't know. Let's take two different corporations in the same company. that might not have to compete for your dollar. Let's just pick some random ones. Let's go with Pfizer and Moderna. Now, why would they not have to technically compete for your dollar? Well, it might be because the government just mandated and said, "Hey, I tell you what, the government's going to give Pfizer some money and they're going to give Moderna some money. Let's get some products and some people. Let's do it. Let's do it. Maybe a mandate or two. Who knows? That would really mess up, insulin prices too. If the government just started, I don't know, trying to take command of things like that. Kind of the way you can get cheaper medicine in Mexico. You ever wonder, like, well, why is that? Is it because they're making it out of Mexican water and you just, that's not good for your gut health? Or is it have to do with regulations? I don't know. I have no idea. Not sure about that one. I'm not as smart as old Senator Bobby Casey, but we're going to continue with this and see what else he's got to say about price gouging in these greedy, evil corporations.
Just run of the mill price gouging, and you give the people an opportunity to fight back against them. As I said, if they're not engaged in corporate price gouging, they got nothing to worry about. But this is long overdue. People are tired of just accepting higher prices. Now, consumers obviously have a lot of power here, and because I've pointed it out for the better part of 9 or 10 months now, people are putting pressure, and some of that public pressure is working on some of these big corporations. But look,
okay, so he says people have the power here and they're putting pressure on some of these corporations. What's he talking about? Because is he talking about like a Bud Light boycott? Is he talking about maybe people not shopping at those places and going somewhere cheaper? Because again, that's just a free market system. Is he talking about like the power, guys, the power you have in this command economy, this uncommanded economy, I should say, the power that you have is you get to choose where you want to put your dollar. And look, if you were like, I love Walmart prices, but I can't stand seeing people in everybody's wearing pajamas all the time. Like that's a thing. Maybe you're bothered by that. Maybe it's not even just pajamas. Maybe it's like specifically Cookie Monster pajamas. Guys, I don't even know where they sell those, and I still see those every time I go into Walmart. And it's not the same person. I know what you're thinking. Like, well, David shops at a Walmart. Same person comes in, Cookie Monster pajama pants, and he just sees them every time. Maybe they got the same schedule. Wrong. Multiple different people, same pair of pajama pants. Where are they getting them from? Guys, it's a Cookie Monster. Where is this coming from? It's not even Bluey. Bluey I'd let pass. But Cookie Monster? Come on. Anyway, yeah, the way you can control that is like, yeah, I don't like Walmart. I can go shop at old Target. Target's prices are a little bit outrageous, almost in everything. I don't think you can find a cheaper version of anything at Target that you could, and then something more expensive at Walmart. It's all expensive because you're paying for the atmosphere. You're paying for the absence of Cookie Monster pajamas. And so I shop at Target. If you didn't know. If you're in Canada, I think it's Target. So I'm just trying to reference my Canadian viewers. Shout out in the chat if you're from Canada. Anyway, so yeah, you do hold the power right now. But as soon as the government comes in and says, you know what, all these evil corporations, your cans of soup or your cans of soup, they're all going to be set at this price. And then the corporations, I mean, maybe they're greedy, but what if they're not greedy? What if they're like, hey, man, we're making 13 cents per can of soup. And if I set the prices to what you asked me to, we're only going to make 8 cents a can. And if that's the case, we're not going to produce that many cans because there's not much profit to be made. And lo and behold, you go to Target and you're like, I need a can of soup. I need a can of diced tomatoes. Where are they at? And Target's like, I don't know. They just stopped making them. Well, why'd they stop making them? I don't know. Kamala came in and said that prices were too high. Guys, it's simple math. Whatever. You guys know this. And we're done with this guy. This boomer. I gotta stop playing boomers on here. Anyway, we have people in the chat. We got JWB Production says hi, coming in from YouTube. We also got Liberty, a Twitcher, coming in from Twitch. The only stupid voters believe that price gouging is the cause of inflation or that government can really cause prices to go down. Absolutely true. Thank you, Liberty Twitch. What else you got? I have not pre-read these, so hopefully they're all kosher. The best thing government can do is a public interest campaign to tell people to pull back on buying things. In fact, the government did that back in the 40s. What happened in the 40s, by the way? I forgot. Um, don't remember. Price controls can result in one thing only and always does: scarcity. Thank you, Liberty Twitcher, for coming in hot with the truth. Absolutely correct. I know you guys know this. It bears repeating on someone maybe watching. We're like, I don't know. I still think corporations are greedy. Yes, I tell you what. Here's the thing: corporations aren't greedy. People are greedy, right? We all agree. Yes, people can be greedy. What makes you have more trust that the government's not going to be greedy when price gouging corporations who are greedy? Everyone always talks about evil corporations, and their problem, their fix is always government. Don't you know these are the same people and they're friends? They're friends, guys. Guys, they're friends. It's a big club. You're not in it. George Carlin coming back from the dead with his truth bombs. We got some more comments coming in from Liberty Twitcher. I like this Liberty Twitcher. Coming in with great stuff. I really don't know what happened in the 40s, but I've listened to old-timey radio shows. The only old-timey radio shows I've listened to were on Fallout. And there's so much government paid commercials to tell people to turn back inflation by buying less. Dude, if you do listen to old time, like fireside chats with like Roosevelt, that kind of thing, that's legit. That's fun. And then James comes in to correct me: rationing during World War II. Here's the funny thing, and that's totally true. But it's not bad if the government. I think the government already did come out, especially wasn't it around? It's from COVID up to now. I remember a series of articles, probably from the Washington Post. Tell me if you guys remember this, when they were like, inflation is not happening, you're being lied to. And then the next like 6 months later was like, well, it's happening, but it's a good thing. And then 6 months later, it's like, well, it's happening and it's your fault, buy less. And so we watched that progression. And it was like the same uh news magazine coming up with the same articles. Like, we knew this was coming. And it always comes down to, hey guys, it's your fault. Stop doing these things. I love the government because the government's never going to lie to you guys. I don't know if you know this. The government will never lie to you. And if there is a problem with the economy, it's you, stupid. It's your fault. You keep wanting to buy things like eggs and bread. And what's your deal? Why do you keep trying to make these mortgage payments? Can't you just sell your house to BlackRock by now? Why do you keep struggling and fighting on? If you would just give up and just get this, hop on the government dole, things would be so much easier. Why do you keep trying to buy things to survive? The government's always on your side and always trying to tell you the truth. Guys, it's been a fantastic night. Thank you guys for all showing up and watching. I can't let this go without coming back to this whole thing again. A lot of jokes, a lot of fun. That's what we do here at Pardonable Live. Like and subscribe. But I keep coming back. Now, I don't think Trump is the Messiah by any means. And to be honest, I don't think Trump's going to be able to fix what we're doing right, the trajectory we're on. I think at this point in time, we're rolling down the hill too quick. I do believe Trump has a better policy plan, or at least the drill baby drill. If that was all he did, I think that would help with prices. But as long as we print money and keep going after that, as long as the printers continue to go burr and we jump into every stupid war that pops up in the world. I mean, I say jump in, I mean fund it. And when I say fund it, I don't mean just fund, I mean fund both sides. If we could just stop doing that, I'm hoping Trump will hop in and just will end that. That would help you out. Eggs would not be so much, neither would bread. Scarcity might not be an issue. We can stave off wherever we're going. Whatever road this thing that we're on now, the Biden-Harris campaign, and I say Biden-Harris specifically because she's in the White House right now. She can't do anything right now, guys. Her hands are tied because she's running a campaign. But as soon as that campaign's over with, guys, she's going to fix it. She's going to command all these prices to go down. You're going to be buying eggs for pennies on the dollar. Or you're just going to be getting your cheese from the government. It's same thing, guys. Same thing. Everyone loves government cheese. It's got American Eagle. It's got like an eagle stamped on it. How American can you get? I mean, come on, guys. America loves lines, especially ones that you get bread at the end. Anyway, I've got one more clip because I don't know. I'm just trying to have fun with this, but to be honest, it's getting hard out there for me, for you, for everyone I know. Everyone's feeling it. And I try in my personal life, I'm always talking politics, and I do it in a joking. And the reason I do this in a jokingly manner, we make fun of, the media because they're lying. There is a serious aspect to all of this, and I'm very, I am someone actually concerned. But I try to bring some levity to the situation because I don't think things are just going to be able to fix with me, barking at you and telling you to vote for Trump. It's not. I don't know if that's going to be it. It would help. It would. The U.S. would be better if you were at least felt more confident in the truth, and that's really what it comes down to. And when it comes to like the command economy, like, well, it does seem to make sense. If my landlord keeps raising the prices, I'm going to have to be kicked out. And I understand the Democrats and lefties always appeal to emotion, and emotion's a hard thing to stave off and to kind of peer through that facade of them just tugging on your heartstrings and trying to make you feel, not feel bad for wanting, a border wall, which I still can't wrap my head around that, where you wanting a border wall are an evil person. Um, they shout from their gated communities. Regardless, it is serious out there, so I tried to just bring some levity with this show. But I'm fairly concerned that people will fall for this. People will fall for this Kamala spiel about day one she's going to fix it. There's no avenue in the Kamala Harris campaign, that platform. There's no avenue where it gets better. And so hopefully you watch this and go, wow, the world, this whole political thing is a clown show. And the best thing you can do is, saddle up. And even if Trump gets in, it's not going to be fixed immediately. It's going to be a rough road ahead. And so we're going to make jokes. We're going to make memes. We're going to have a good time along the way, only because actual joy, the kind you get from memes, not the kind you get from a Kamala Harris rally, actual joy is a very important commodity, and it does not come easy. And so when you get those, you got to hold on to them. So that's why we do things. We have fun clips. Let me see. We got another comment. Dan G coming in from YouTube. The fact that Kamala even has such a silly platform shows how dumb the Dems know their voters are. To be honest, man, and this is the thing that I can't seem to wrap my mind around. We're gonna hang out on this because Dan G's right. And not to be like an ad hominem. I don't think every I know some Democrats. They're not dumb people. I don't know if it's a completely IQ thing. Actually, we're gonna veer off into this category real quick. In this lane, we're gonna rant off into this because I think this is somewhat important. I think it has a lot to do with how we feel about the other side, politically. I don't think they're all dumb. I do think the propaganda works really well on a lot of people, and I can say, I mean, propaganda is coming from both sides. The left has propaganda, the right has propaganda. I don't know if the right has to work so hard at theirs because they're not really running on, like I said, they don't have to jump through. They're not Fonzie jumping the sharks on any of their policy platforms. Building the wall, whether they can get it done or not, is just a basic common sense. It's not like they're trying to tell everybody they're going to Mars. It's not like they're going to it's not like Trump's coming out saying he's going to cure cancer. Don't know if you guys remember that. They're still trying to do that. That's amazing. Anyway, they don't have to jump the shark as much as the Dems. So the propaganda is not near as fierce. But I do believe that you can have a somewhat high, like we saw this during COVID, all the PhDs coming out being like, no. Like the media is right. Like, look at all these stats that I fudged myself personally. It's about the greater good. We saw this perfect example, guys. I don't know how you feel about him. Old Sammy Harris. Got a bad case of the TDS. If you don't know what that is, Trump derangement syndrome. And Sam Harris, and let's be honest, he's smart for an atheist. Just straight up, he's a smart guy. Like, I've listened to his stuff, even him debating. I was like, he's a good debater. He comes with some somewhat all right points. I at least understand him. He's a good communicator. But he just lost it, and it made me sit back and be like, how did this happen? And it's just the propaganda. And I don't know. I think some people are naturally born to be able to see through BS, kind of wade through the weeds. Because again, everybody, you run into propaganda at your job, with family. God, like, you run into propaganda. It's just purposeful lies to manipulate you. That's all this is. Just trying to get you, even if it's a half truth, half lies, just trying to get you to think in one direction. And the propaganda seems to work on a lot of people, regardless of their IQ. I think it seems to work on midwits the best. And that's that kind of bell curve thing where you have, At the bottom of the screen, you have like your really low IQ. Most of the time, the meme has them with a MAGA hat on, and they're toothless, and they're saying something like, like I'm not sure about these vaccines. And then at the top of the most common average IQ, like 110, it's the midwit, and they're like, no, everything's safe and effective. And then very down at the bottom, it's a very high IQ, and it's like the meme with the guy at the hood saying, I'm not sure about these vaccines. And that commonality between the very low and very high IQ, I think it's just ability to see through BS. It's street smarts. What everyone talks about that. So you can be super heady and book knowledge and studying in your field. It's the same thing where, look, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I can't go digging around in your brain, but I can change a tire. And I'm not sure how many neurosurgeons know how to change a tire. Guys, this is why I call this the tire test. I'm not sure how many neurosurgeons or rocket scientists know to loosen the nuts while the tire's on the ground and then jack the tire up. I don't know if they know these common sense things. Now they may figure it out like the sixth time too, but they don't have to. They just call it double A. They're doctors. They got money. They're not going to get out and change their Mercedes tire. What's wrong with you? What are you thinking? No, so they don't know. Common sense thing is just a thing you're either born with or you're raised in it. And being able to smell BS from a mile away, that's something you guys have, something I have. It's just I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where you got it from. Maybe you do. Maybe it's just your upbringing. Maybe it's just you've been in difficult situations where you had to navigate through propaganda. And I just think a lot of these people got fed a load of lies. To be honest, it's not as if they fell for the first trick. The entire Trump presidency was riddled with lies. And how do you, oh, this is the other factor. I'm going on another with the propaganda. The best part about the left-wing propaganda is it has this thing called normalcy bias working in its favor. Like, especially, and I always have fun with boomers. I don't really have an issue with boomers. They're just fun to make fun of because some of them are a little bit outrageous with their entitlements. Pot calling the kettle black when they always talk about these kids and their entitlements. They should be called the entitled generation. Anyway, I'm not going to rag on the boomers, but I understand their entire world. And you get this when you talk to like people that are really into politics, like those hardcore DeSantis Trump, supporters. And they're like, I've been in politics. I want Reagan back. I want real conservatism. This Trump guy is just I get it, but they still think politics is being played the way it was, 20 years ago. Game has changed. That table got flipped over a while back. Whole new game on the table. We're not playing your grandpa's politics anymore. And so that whole normalcy bias, like that should have gone out the window with the entire Trump campaign, with literally Hillary Clinton's campaign paying for the Russia collusion, that whole thing being in bed with the CIA. But they were not used to that. They're so used to like everything being above board. All your votings are counted. There's no irregularities. Everything's tip top. It's been like this forever. The media has never lied to you. And there might have been WMDs in Iraq. There may have been. They wouldn't lie to us. Anyway, they just stuck in a normalcy bias. And the reason it's hard to let go of a normalcy bias and to pretend like things are just the same as they've always been is because your identity is kind of tied to it. If life has always been the same way that you've always known, to all of a sudden be thrown into, as soon as they spark up a Hadron Collider in 2012 and then Harambe dies and everything starts going off the rails, all of a sudden the guy from Apprentice is being elected president and he's a Russian agent. And then, all this weird stuff and, all of these things coming out. You got your 8th pandemic and 10 years. These things have a tendency to poke and pry at what you thought was life and how it functions and in the world that you grew up in. And you don't want to let those go because then you're playing a totally different game and you were raised to play one game. So if you're playing Monopoly the whole time and all of a sudden someone goes, hey buddy, it wasn't Monopoly. We've been playing categories. And you're like, I don't know about this categories thing. No, I'm going to continue to play Monopoly. And that propaganda has that whole thing, that normalcy bias to play off of. So that was the whole thing about Kamala coming out and being like, hey, we're about joy. We're about joy. We're joy over here. These Republicans are so weird, aren't they? People are like, yeah, they kind of are weird, aren't they? And that whole thing, it just plays into the normalcy bias because Democrats were never unhinged when they were growing up. They had Bill Clinton. The weirdest thing about Bill Clinton was just him playing saxophone. Nothing to do with him doing stuff in the Oval Office. Even that got swept under the rug. They're like, well, I guess boys will be boys. And that just tied into like, well, we just kind of slowly stepped towards a cliff. And then all of a sudden, we don't know what bathrooms to go into. And truth is just relative. And you can identify with whatever you want. all the way up to the point where we're just chopping things off of kids. So we're at that point, normalcy bias. People don't want to live in the reality we live in. And I get it. I don't want to live in this reality either. But truth is what far more valuable. And at this point in time, I think I think it makes sense when in the Matrix when Neo's been, you got the blue pill and the red pill. I mean, even in that movie, that guy wanted to go back to the blue pill because he's like, this sucks. The red pill is not fun. It's reality. And so when people fall for the propaganda, being like, yeah, you know what, Kamala will fix things day one. I think, it's got to be like 40% of these high intelligent people are just going, God, I just want things to go back to the way that I don't want to pretend like this is really important. I don't, I don't want to see the world for as it is. I'd like to take the blue pill, please. And I think that's where we're at, guys. And so I don't hate on my Democrat people. That's why I always rag on the media, because to me, Democrats and lefties, they are going to lefties are going to left, and they're going to veer left, and I'm going to be over here wherever I am. I guess I'm far right at this point in time. I've had this podcast long enough to where apparently I'm far right. I'll still be over here, and I'll still have a conversation with them by every means necessary. I'll try to talk to them as often as possible, but I don't think it's their fault. I think Joey Scarborough knows what he's doing. I think he knows he's lying. I think the people in the media and the politicians know they're lying. I don't think the Democrats, when they spout something like the Hunter's laptop was fake news and that's not real. That was just some kind of something. All right, here's the newest one. I still hear Democrats. I see it in the comments all the time, being like, Trump didn't. That was all staged by Trump. The assassination thing. That was Trump. He did it. And I sit back and be like, man, I know you want to believe that so bad because Trump is orange man bad and stuff, but no, we've crossed the Rubicon way further back, and I feel bad for them because they've been trained to just hate Trump so much that if anything veers off of their spectrum, off of their narrative, something seems fishy to their narrative, they got to kick it out, and I don't think they can handle it at this point. But everyone's waking up. People wake up all the time. Don't lose hope. Your family members, your liberal family members, they're most likely good people. They're just trying to hold on to whatever. I don't know. I don't know what they're holding on to. They're probably not as dumb as they sound. The same thing. I don't believe Kamala is as dumb as she sounds, and she sounds awfully dumb and drunk. She sounds dumb and drunk. I don't. I do think she's drunk, but she's not that dumb. I think she's playing an act. Anyway. We went along. we went long tonight. I appreciate everybody joining in and watching this Pardonal Live. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you love this podcast and you want to support it more, you can always go to pardonwill.com. All of my stuff's there. I know you think I'm just an amazing podcaster and I do this for a living. No, bro. I paint stuff and I do all kinds of cool stuff. I got music out now. Spoiler alert, that music's been sitting on my shelf for like a decade, and I just decided to put it out because why not? It's 2024, the world's coming to an end, might as well put whatever you got out just for fun. Anyway, go to pardonworld.com. You can support the podcast further, buy print, buy some art, and come back next Sunday 8:30. We'll be doing this again. We'll probably talk about the DNC. I'll be reading your comments. I am thinking about doing, before I go, I am thinking about doing a Q&A. I am thinking about doing a Q&A, but I just don't know, to be honest. If I was you and you were me, I don't know if I would like what just random stuff, and I don't think I will answer those great. So if you come at me with some crazy trivia about Back to the Future, then I would be like, oh, I don't know, and I feel like that would be a lot of the Q&A. You'd be like, hey, how do you feel about 1940s radio? Be like, fireside chats. Who was that? Anyway, and so I'm afraid it would be a complete letdown. But maybe one day I will do a Q&A. I'm still just thinking about it. We have one more chat coming in, talking about music. AI will put an end to human-made music. Sadly, actually. All right, so true. It'll put an end not to human-made music. It will put an end to human-made pop. I think it will completely decimate pop. What I don't think it'll do, and I've heard that, and they're like, well, David, no, AI is getting good. It's going to be able to write the most amazing country songs, maybe, but country's turning into pop. I do not even, I might be eating my words on this one. This is a weird end the way to end the podcast, the part of life. I don't think. Here's the thing. Uh, tons of. I'm a carpenter, so I understand how to build things. I understand that manufacturing. You can go online right now to what's that place? What's that place? The Swedish place. Crap, I'm totally blanking. Anyway, you can go to Walmart right now and you can scope you out some Cookie Monster pajamas, and while you're there, get you a bookshelf. It's a crappy bookshelf, but it's cheap and it's affordable. And that's kind of how I look at AI music. I think people knowing whether or not I'm assuming people will assume it's AI, but anytime they come out and someone comes and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna play you a song," and not like a DJ. We're not talking like a DJ with the headphones. Like, I'm gonna play you someone else's song and I'm gonna mix it with someone else's song, and we're just gonna mix a bunch of songs that I didn't make together for you to dance to. I'm talking about real handcrafted IKEA. Thank you, James. James popped in the chat. IKEA. I'm talking about real handcrafted. There was this whole movement way back in the day when the economy wasn't under the Biden-Harris administration, where people had enough money to buy bespoke stuff, and they were like, "I want handcrafted because handcrafted is built better. It feels better to the touch, and there's something about owning something that is made by a person versus made by a CNC machine." And so I think that it will always be there. As an artist myself, I mean, you could say a thing about not just AI taking over, music. AI can easily take over what I do, all the kinds of art that I make easily. It already has for the most part. People don't really hire artists except for the people that want something made by a person hung on their wall. Now, I get it. Not many people are going to buy my art to save as their back screen on their phone. But I, uh, I don't do bad when people want something handmade on their wall. And there's a few things entitled to that. Oh my God, this could turn into a whole nother hour, guys. I could talk about this because this is a major topic I love talking about. Before this podcast was a political live show, it was me talking about art and all the intricacies of this. But when you I think there will always be a time where people are going to want things made by human hands on their walls. And the reason I say that is because it's not always about aesthetic beauty and the things that you want. Like, I've seen some sweet Star Wars posters that were just, maybe someone made them, but I've seen some awesome art made by AI. I don't want it on my wall, not because it doesn't look good, because that's not the point of art. The point of art is to have a connection to the human soul. And so, even with music and other art and poetry and all the other things that people do when it comes to art, there is an uncanny valley that I do not think will ever be able to cross. I don't think it'll ever be able to do that. And so I I mean, maybe one day it will, but it'll never replace going to a honky tonk and hearing, some guy play the blues on like a dark lit stage in the back. It won't be able to replace that. And I even like as an artist, like doing things like, you can tell when something's printed and when something's put on paper. And even if AI makes a cool machine that just like does all the brushstrokes, if you knew, if everyone's just assuming it's done by AI, then yeah, sure, they're gonna buy that. They're gonna put it in their McMansions that was in their suburb gated community where all the houses look identical to each other, just flip flopped around in slightly different colors. And they're gonna do that, and they're gonna buy other art from Home Depot or Marshalls or whatever, all this printed stuff. They're gonna do this because it's the theme, or it's interior designer came in and they went with a color scheme. But there will be those people out there who are gonna put handmade art uh, on their wall, and they're going to specifically look for that. There's always going to be art collectors, not because it's valuable, maybe because it's valuable, but not because they have to do anything other than the fact that they know a human put their time and energy and their soul into it. When I make a piece of art, most of the time there's a piece of me built into that. And I think the same thing with music. You can hear, like, you can make, I've heard cool AI country songs, but it didn't sound the same. And regardless of how you feel about that Oliver Anthony guy, that song you wrote, that Richmond North of Richmond, and you could tell he was in that. Like, that wasn't, that was something he wrote. And maybe he bought that off somebody, but he sang it like he meant it. And I think that uncanny valley thing, AI is not going to be able to touch that. Regardless, it will always come down to scarcity. And so if AI is making all the art and there's only 5 artists out there still knowing to do, going back to, look at this, we're putting a nice pretty bow on the end of this podcast just to sum up all the Kamala Trump economy talk. AI will create scarcity in man-made art, music, poetry, paintings, it will make a scarcity because most people will know it's easier to get AI out. I can make a cool Star Wars painting by typing into my computer. Why would I buy it from old Pardon Will? It'll create scarcity, which means it'll create less artists that do it for a living. And when that goes and there's only 5 of me out there, I'm not going to have to worry about it because um, it's just it just makes my art more valuable. It's economics 101. We got a bunch of comments coming in. Hold on, I'll put this up real quick, and then people can go if they're in the comments coming in from Twitch. AI prompt was merely melodic rock song about a guy named Pardon Will who does a YouTube broadcast about life and politics. And then he put a link in the Twitch chat that you can click on. I'm going to go back and listen to that here in a minute because that's awesome. And there's a second version where the same Pardon Will lyrics. That's awesome. Thank you for putting that in there. I'm sure it's better than my actual music that I put on my website. But the one thing you do know is that was AI. I'm telling you, there's a difference when you walk through Walmart and you look at a nice desk and you place your hand on it. It's not some kind of weird crystal vibration thing, but you can tell it's cheap when you walk by a handmade carved, oak table. You just know. You just know somebody put their time into it. Somebody put their love into it. I do believe in souls. I do believe this. I'm not a woo hippie, but souls are real. And I think you can tell. It's the same way when when you're being watched, or, that weird feeling you get that only comes from knowing or seeing people. There's that thing is never going away. And AI can replicate everything, but it can't replicate the human soul. And so maybe that's our saving grace. We also have. All right, reading chats. We got Michael Giuliano coming in. Michael, what's up? If you don't have Pardon Will art piece, you don't have art. That's true, and you need to go buy his merch ASAP. Go to pardonwill.com, guys. Thank you, Michael, for shouting that out. Liberty says about the song. It said it took less than 10 seconds to make those songs. I don't doubt it. It took me a lot longer to make songs and art. It does, but I just don't. It says I don't doubt it. I just don't know if it'll ever be able to get to where an artist does. Michael Julian says soul versus zero soul. I would prefer real to AI. I agree. I think people will. I don't know if it'll be I don't think, again, scarcity would be low. Our collectors are a scarcity in themselves. So I don't assume, but when the bespoke thing came around, when people started going, they were so wanting something real that people started going to garage sales and antique, flea markets. They do big festivals out here, and in Connecticut and Brimfield, where people just take old junk they bought all year round. They went to garage sales and bought old antique coffee tables with stains in them, and they bring them to these markets and price gouge the hell out of them. Colin should be looking at these antique fairs because they price gauge the hell out of price gauge. I pulled a Kamala. They price gouge the hell out of this furniture. You're like, dude, that's not what you bought that off a grandma at a garage sale for $10, and you're selling it for $1,000. But they do that specifically because people love that stuff, dude. It will never go away. You will never have a time in your life where handmade stuff or old or anything that feels like it's real will go away. Coming in last, and then we'll give it a call. Liberty Twitcher says yes, but if I were a musician, I'd AI write it first, and then I would tweak it and re-record it. Nobody would know. Man, you're gonna have me go. Okay, this is the last thing. I'm not gonna read any more comments, but Liberty Twitcher, this is for you. There's this story about a watchmaker. This is. You're right. Nobody would know, for sure. There's a story about this watchmaker, and this is probably a fictional story, but it doesn't matter. And he's got a son, and he's teaching him how to make one. Back in the day when people made watches, they would do this thing where they actually hand make those watches. They would open up, and this watchmaker's teaching his son, and at the very end, when he gets done setting the time watch, he puts what is called a maker's mark. It's like his name or his initials inside of the watch, and then closes it up. And no one knows how to open. You can't just repair your watch. This is like you have to go back to the watchmaker to get your watch repaired if it ever breaks. And the son asks his dad, "Why did you put that? No one's ever gonna see that maker's mark. No one's ever gonna see that." And the father goes, "But God knows." And so going back to the soul aspect, yes, no one would ever know, but you will. And I think that makes a difference. And again, this goes back to propaganda. Not every you will be able to fool a ton of people, but there is something divine in nature of smelling BS. And so you'll know, God will know, and there will be a small amount of people out there being like, "No, man, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about you writing that song." There will always be that. And so it's the world we live in. Maker's Mark, that story. It's probably fictional, but it's a great story. It's a great concept. Anyway, I appreciate everyone tuning in. We went extra long this way. I thought it was a good week, and so we had a great episode. Thanks for everyone tuning in. It was great, and the chat's blowing up. Love talking to you guys. Love having a great time. Oh, I take that back. We got one more thing. We're going long. I'm going to go long anyway. I got one more clip. We're going to watch this. I saw this clip online, and I was like, this sums up. This is what I don't understand. This is why memes. The entire deep state has this propaganda machine. And it's trying so hard, guys. It's doing the best it can to try to propagandize as many people as possible. And then off in the distance, the riders of Rohan look up and see Gandalf with all of the best memes just slaughter the orc army. The deep state's got nothing on our memes. So this is a great sum up. Hopefully you're a fan of The Office. If you're just listening to this, I apologize. Maybe you're a fan of The Office and you're just listening to the audio. This is worth a watch, but this is a clip from The Office. Someone took it and brought in their own little bit. But this sums up the whole entire Harris campaign in one little clip. Here you go.
You could have burned down the whole.
I did not kill anyone.
What?
Okay. We are not mad. We are just disappointed.
No, we are mad. You have to take responsibility here. One of your employees had a heart attack. He could have died because of the way you're allowing your office to run. Do you want that on your conscience?
Do you?
Michael?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
What?
I remember that episode too. I love The Office, but I thought that summed up perfectly. Michael gets up and walks the other side of the table. That's exactly what Kamala's doing. So like, man, this she's on day one. She's gonna fix she's gonna fix all the things. She's gonna unburden us from what has been, which is her and old Joey boy. So anyway, we're gonna end on that. Hey guys, thank you so much. We'll be back here next Sunday, 8:30. Tune in, like and subscribe. You know the whole spiel. Do what Michael says. Go buy some art. I'd appreciate it very much. And